What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of Stand Your Ground. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Stand Your Ground, brought to you by our friends over at Manscaped. I'm your host, as always, Alex Bennison. We are joined by D-Bake. And we are joined by both members of the Mighty Whites podcast, Jack and KC.
Yeah, you all right?
That was a nice, smooth intro there.
Yeah, video played exactly when you wanted it to, didn't it?
Don't you love technology? Something you should love, though. Even before we get into anything, we might as well plug it now. Something you should love is Manscaped. So, Manscaped, obviously, they're sponsoring us for this every video that's live on the Buzz. If you want to go over to Manscaped and use code SYG2020, you'll get 20% off and free delivery. But don't take my word for it. Check out this video showing you some products that you can use. Yeah, so as we said, make sure that you go over and check out manscaped.com. You can get some great products just like the Lawnmower 3.0. Guaranteed, no snags, no cuts. Fantastic products. Probably great for Christmas and give the help of 20% off and free delivery. But we might as well just jump straight into the football. And before we even get into the game roundup, because the first game from this week didn't even happen. Aston Villa versus Newcastle postponed due to 5 coronavirus tests that came back positive. Villa have come out. They're going to be playing their next week's game, but it's still up in the air whether Newcastle are going to have another game postponed. It surprises me that it's taken till December for a game to actually be postponed due to positive tests.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I'm amazed it's taken this long. I fully expected this to happen within a couple of weeks of football getting back going. So it says how good a job they must have done with all the isolations and stuff to keep getting games ahead. But it was always going to happen at some point. It will happen again.
I honestly think this is the best Newcastle have looked all season.
Tactical Steve Bruce.
He was hoping it was just going to count as a 0-0 draw, and he would take it.
Yeah, well, you can't lose if you don't play.
Point at head, smart like wrestling.
Considering how everything's going on in the States here with all the COVID cases and everything, it's a good sign for you guys over there that this is the first one, considering they've been playing for months.
Yeah, there's obviously been a couple of individual cases here and there with players and things like that, but this I think the most serious incident so far has been in the SPL, hasn't it? Was it Kilmarnock and was it St Johnstone both had to have both broke COVID protocol and have
Aberdeen did, I know, right at the start of the season, because Ryan Edmondson had gone on loan there from Leeds, and it was just after that, and a load of, 8 of them went to the pub, and then someone in the pub had COVID, so they all had to isolate. And I know Barley goalie from Celtic went, I think he flew to Spain and then came back.
For a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it was a surprise to see this flash up and say that it was going to be postponed. To be honest, probably more in Newcastle's favour than it was in Villa's favour. The way that Villa have started this season, they are a bit up and down, but I could have expected them to have beaten this Newcastle side that's probably not. It's a typical Steve Bruce side. They don't have any attacking flair other than Alan St-Maximin.
It's very Newcastle that to have, like a completely lack of flair, except for one. They've always got. I mean, I'd say they've probably got two because Almiron as well. I like Miguel Almiron, but it hasn't quite worked out for him there.
I guess the one thing you can say from both of those players is they're both lacking a bit of end product. So we'll move on to the Saturday and start our actual game roundup. First game of the week, Burnley versus Everton, 1-1. Robbie Brady starting the game for, I think, the first time in 8 months. I think he's actually started a game for Burnley, scoring, and then Dominic Calvert-Lewin equalising just before half-time. Everton have dropped off massively.
It's what happens when you play Leeds. The next game, you're knackered. It always happens. It's something daft like only 4 teams have won the game after they played Leeds in like the last 2.5 years. It's a ridiculous thing that does keep happening. But I just thought in this game, to be honest, I was quite impressed with how Burnley played. I thought they were a massive improvement on previous games. They played some pretty nice stuff. Really, really good goal from Brady. Because he played off the right, and obviously he's always had a great left foot. It's just the all-round game seemed to have dropped off, but he's earned his place in the side. I'm assuming that he'll stay in now.
Do you think, based on how Burnley have been so far this year, do you or do any of you guys give Sean Dyche? Do you give him the next transfer window to try and do anything with that team? Because I know it's Burnley, and I know realistically, I don't think they should be looking to replace him. But if you've got new owners coming in as well, it could be a case of them trying to get someone they would perceive to be high profile.
There's a lot of people that are out of jobs at the moment that could easily take over at Burnley, but I don't think they do the same job as what Sean Dyche has done for the past couple of years. I think the main one that people will probably say is Eddie Howe.
That's already been done. Eddie Howe went to Burnley once and it was a disaster.
Yeah.
So
I've heard him linked heavily with the Celtic job, which I think would be a good job for him.
That'd be interesting. I'd be doing everything in my power to keep Dyche if I was Burnley. But I think that whether they stay up or not, I think this is his last season there. Because he fell out with them back end of last season, didn't he? And it looked like he were going to quit. And I think that's why they haven't been quite as good. I think that harmony between the board and him isn't there anymore. And I don't think that's helping. But I 100% blaming the board for that because I think Sean Dyche has done a brilliant job there.
I think they should give him a chance to try and bring in some goal scorers because that's the thing that they're lacking right now. Their defense hasn't been that bad. It's just that they always have to stay back because they can't score. And I think they need to bring some of that in and then see if that helps out a bit, see if they can pick up a few wins after bringing a couple guys in. Because if they don't, they're just going to keep losing. And then you might as well just start fresh with somebody else.
I know it's harsh to say that Chris Wood is not a clinical goal scorer because he is. He's got, I think, for the past 3 seasons he's been in the Prem, he's scored 10 plus goals for Burnley each season. But if he's your only clinical goal scorer that you've got, then you've probably got a few problems that you need to look at in the transfer window.
Yeah. I'd say all their strikers, like Wood, Barnes, Jay Rodriguez, Mate Vidra, I'd say they're all kind of streaky players. Like they've all got the ability, but none of them are going to have a full season completely playing well every time. They'll have a run of 10 games of playing, and then it'll drop off. So you need to get lucky with timings.
I'll tell you what, Sheffield United would kill for a streaky goal scorer.
Yeah.
We'll get on to Sheffield United. But the next game, Man City 2, Fulham 0. we were saying last week, me, Casey, and Brad that were on last week, were talking about Fulham's result last week could have been the turning point for their season. It was just unlucky that they had to play Man City next. But 2-0 against a Man City side that normally does score for fun against the lower teams probably isn't the worst result that the fans were expecting.
It could have been worse, though. It could have been 4 or 5-0 with all the chances Sterling had, and then De Bruyne had a couple chances that the goalie was able to get in position right away and stop because he had an open shot. It could have easily been like 5-0, though.
Yeah, they went 2-0 up quite. Obviously, Sterling scored after about 5 minutes. They made it 2, but they did seem to ease right off, did Man City in this game. It was as comfortable a 2-0 as you're going to see.
Yeah. There's the one thing that I'll say about Sterling is even when he was played through from De Bruyne and you knew the defence wasn't catching him, I still couldn't guarantee that he was going to put that in the back of the net.
Yeah, he's never been I wouldn't say he's a natural finisher, but he's a million times better finisher than he was 2 years ago. He's clearly worked on it. His finishing has improved immeasurably.
I think he's just one of those players, and I don't know it's the story that it's the comment that everyone makes, but almost like the less time he has on the ball, the better. Like the less time to have to make a decision, the better a decision he makes with it. And it's just so much more, such an instinctive player.
Yeah, they didn't look back to their best, but they looked like Man City again in that game.
Yeah, I didn't realize how long of a goal drought that Sterling had until they mentioned it in the game. He looked more fluidly in that game, getting the through balls, getting the chances on net. Like he looked like the player that he was before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be fair, so
wall collapses.
Another player that kind of looks like he was back to his best as well. De Bruyne looked like he was finding those passes. He struggled in, not the last week, the week before. He struggled and he didn't look happy with his performance, but he looked kind of back to where he should be. The next game, West Ham 1, Man United 3. West Ham.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the luckiest man.
He wins when his job's on the line.
They got battered. West Ham should have been 4-0 up at halftime in this game. They absolutely battered them into the ground.
We went down to a corner. Thomas Souček getting a header and giving Dean Henderson, I think, his first Premier League goal conceded. To be fair, I quite like the Souček that they've signed. He seems to be a decent little holding midfielder. Him and Declan Rice.
I think Souček's better than that. I think he's quite good going forward as well. When I first saw him, I thought he looked like holding mid. But the more I watch him, the better player I think he is.
Yeah. But we've got to talk about the first goal for Man United. Dean Henderson clears it up the pitch. VAR.
That play by about 5 yards.
A fan heads it back in. How VAR have not gone? Yeah, that's over the line.
If you're David Moyes, though, you have every right. Like, if you punch the linesman in the face, you know what? Yes, give him a 1-game ban. But I also think that's deserved because the linesman's just set off. Does not give a shit about the ball that is behind him.
He never once looked, did he?
No.
That linesman.
That linesman's just gone. Thought, no, bearing in mind, offside is the thing that VAR are also covering as well. So at this point, your job is mostly, is the ball in play or not?
It was dreadful. It was Moyes' reaction when he first hits it. Just goes, well closed down, I'll throw in. Hang on, why are we still playing?
Boys, it's gone out.
I mean, It's a great finish from Pogba. It's a great goal.
Yeah, that's the one thing that you can say. Pogba's finish is fantastic.
I reckon if you take Bruno Fernandes out of Man United, I reckon they finish about 13th.
Oh, I was going to say 17th, but all right. But then Mason Greenwood getting a goal pretty much straight after Pogba's goal. Nice to see Mason Greenwood get a goal as well and maybe shake some of those critics off his back that have been hounding him in the press.
Yeah, getting hounded. I wonder what it is about young, talented black footballer Mason Greenwood that people don't like.
Hey, we're not coming on to Millwall yet.
Listen, it's only going to get worse for him. Just wait till he invests in a house for his parents or something. Jesus.
I thought once they got to the second half, they got the through balls going, and then that's when all the chances started popping up for United, and that's why they took advantage of it and took the lead. In the first half, they were kind of stale, like you said earlier, where it could have been like 2-3-0 West Ham in the first half. But then once they get to the second half, everybody woke up, it seemed like. Yeah, the through balls, Pogba was on point with those. Some of them, they could have had a couple other chances that got stopped. But they just seemed to be like, okay, we're down. We got to wake up. And as always this year, they come back from behind.
Yeah, once it went 1-1, Man United were then the better side. But I think that just the manner of that goal, I think West Ham's heads just went. I think they were gone. Because if they'd have kept pressing, they'd have been fine. Like, in terms of the balance of play, if they'd have just kept going, they would have been absolutely fine. But as soon as it went 1-1, they just changed their mentality. And once that happened, they were gone.
Yeah, and Marcus Rashford kind of just added to the misery for West Ham. He hit the post before he scored his goal as well. So as much as West Ham could have been 4-0 up, Man U could have ended that game 4 or 5-1 up.
Yeah, they could.
And then on to the final game of the Saturday. Chelsea 3.
No, didn't happen.
Move along.
Chelsea 3, Leeds 1. Patrick Bamford scoring against his old club. Nice little touch around the goalkeeper. And to be honest, he couldn't have put that any closer to the post if he tried.
Yeah, it was quite good. It was a good finish from Bamford. The thing to talk about is that pass from Calvin Phillips, which was absolutely brilliant. And then the game finished.
No, we've got one point. Timo Werner with the worst miss of the season stopped it from going in and then kicked it off the bar.
I tell you what.
No, the second bit, Melier saved it. The first bit, I don't know what Werner was doing.
It was that was fantastic. I been at home watching this with my mum, and she'd stepped out of the room, and all you heard was me going, "Oh my God, I can't believe he's missed. What the hell was that?"
As much as I'd love to not talk about it, we were thoroughly outplayed in this game. Chelsea are the best side we've played this season. I don't think they'll win the league, but we've played Man City and Liverpool, and Chelsea were miles better than both of them. Miles better. Wasn't even close.
Yeah, I think I saw someone had put the total cost of Leeds' starting 11 up against Timo Werner, and we were still about 7 million short. But you looked at that Chelsea team, and it is quality top to bottom. Whether that's the players they bought in, whether it's the younger players that they've been bringing through over the last couple of years, it's a brilliant team, and that is a team that I think performed to their level on Saturday night.
Yeah, obviously Leeds go man for man all over the pitch, man marking, and sometimes you come up against a team where man for man they're just better than you, and that's what happened. Kante was so good in middle of midfield. Every time, and like Mateusz Klich is a really good player, but every time Kante got the ball, he was just a yard ahead of him every single time. And he ran the show, even though it wasn't like he was picking out precision passes that ran the game, but just any time the ball went near him, he was just in charge of it. He was so good, and some good goals as well. To be fair, the Giroud goal was a good finish.
Yeah, once again with him, he gets another goal. It seems like he's on a streak right now with those, and they've been talking about what they're going to do between him and Abraham. There's been talks that they're going to use this to try and loan out Drew because of Abraham. But what do you guys think about that?
I'd always play Olivier Giroud. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the world. He's a world-class striker. He's just not quick. If he was quick, everyone would think he was one of the best players in the world.
He's also the only footballer I've ever seen use the word serenity in a post or any sort of footballing interview, which very much fits in with the Gallic image of a French footballer. I do have a question for you guys though, because this did come up at home. At one point, the camera sort of closes in on Giroud, and my mum said, "Oh, he's an ugly bastard," and I thought, "Oh no."
No, I assume that your mum was being sarcastic.
No, she does not see it.
Well, although we've heard some of your mum's opinions on looks before, and she's been known to be wrong. I mean, for a start, she turned me down. So, no, but in all seriousness, Olivier Giroud is the sort of guy that if I found him in bed with my fiance, I'd probably tuck him in.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's talking about Giroud, and I mean, the 4 goals from the Champions League and then to come into the Premier League and still score on your first start in that season is great. But Kurt Zouma is off to a flyer.
No, I was just going to say that stat that came up when he scored. That means he's scored on 6 Premier League starts in a row, which probably goes back 2 seasons.
yeah, back end of 2018-17 season.
There's something daft, like he's Chelsea's 13th different goal scorer this season as well, which is mad. Yeah. They've had goals. Pretty much everyone has at least got one.
Oh yeah, imagine, didn't they earlier this season? Didn't they have a 6-0 where they had 6 different goal scorers?
Yeah, they've had a couple of high scoring games.
If I'd have wrote it down, we could have had a little quiz then.
Yeah,
guess the goal scorers. We could do about 6. Yeah. I think Kurt Zouma's one of the defenders that, although they brought Thiago Silva and that in, you can see that his quality has stepped up just being training around people like Thiago Silva. And I really genuinely thought the Malang Sarr that they sent on loan to Liga NOS, I genuinely thought they were going to keep him round and let him start a few Premier League games because I think he's that good that he could just get into the into a Chelsea side already. But Zouma's really stepped up and fought for his place.
Zouma he's really stepped up this season. I can't really comment on Malang Sarr. I know that he had a really good reputation. Was it Nice he was at last season?
Yeah.
I know he had a really good reputation, but I never really got to see him play MSN, so I can't really comment. I know it was a free transfer, though, which annoyed me because I thought, well, why couldn't we just go in for him, pay him a shitload of money? We'd have been able to sell him on at end of one season. So it'd have been a good investment for the club.
If he'd have been Bury. Go on.
Yeah, wasn't this Pulisic's first game back from his injury too? I believe it was.
He might have come on in midweek.
He were on in Champions League and he missed a sitter in Champions League as well. Yeah. But this was his first game back and he would.
Yeah.
Came on for Ziyech, who...
Yeah, he had that finish late, the last goal, I believe. Yeah.
That's the other thing. If you Leeds as well, this has probably been the first time this season we've had a full strength subs bench. Yeah. But you look at the subs that Chelsea have, and there's just no comparison. Again, when you're bringing someone like Pulisic on.
No, there was no sharing it. We just got outplayed by a better side in this one.
Yeah. So on to the Sunday, first game. West Brom 1, Crystal Palace 5.
West Brom are not very good.
you know what? Christian Benteke scored twice.
Yeah. 5 goals for Palace. Although I know West Brom aren't the greatest, that makes Man United look even worse. Conor Gallagher, to be honest, I think has been decent for them who scored their goal.
Yeah, he's really good. It's Conor Gallagher.
But I think the main talking point is Matheus Pereira being sent off. There's been a few kickouts like that that haven't seen red cards. I think Jimenez Leeds was one, which that looked more like a red card than what this one did.
Yeah.
Do you think he should have been sent off?
I wouldn't have sent him off because it was such a weak. And I know that, but I can't say they got it wrong. He did kick out at him. That's, if you want to send him off, it is a red card because he kicked at him. But it was so weak, and he basically missed him. It was one of them where I reckon if they did that 100 times, I reckon he gets away with it 80.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those where I think the stupid part is he's given them the opportunity to send him off.
It's definitely stupid. It's like the Nicola Pepe one at Ellen Road last week. He's given him a decision to make when he doesn't need to.
Yeah. To be honest, the main thing for Palace and the bright spark for Palace is always Wilfried Zaha. But I think under the radar, Eze looked really good as well. He carried the ball quite well in West Brom's half. And the second goal that Wilfried Zaha got basically came because Eze ran it into his path. The only thing that was missing from his performance was a goal.
I don't think that he needs any more goals after that belter of a free kick he smashed in against us.
One and done.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the very standout players in the Championship last season. I'm not surprised at how good he's looking. He was brilliant last season, so I'm not shocked that he still is. I was shocked that Christian Benteke scored twice.
That first header was magical, that he just kind of stoops down to head.
Yeah, it was like a really weak one, the sort of header I scored. And we'll just keep talking until Alex's face stops being frozen.
It was it was one of those games where I didn't know the goal scorers watching the highlights, but I did know the score. So as soon as I saw Benteke was starting, I went, "Oh God, I bet even he's got a goal today."
Yeah. And Benteke's second one was a really nice strike. It was as if suddenly getting a goal suddenly snapped his confidence back, and we saw a bit of Aston Villa Benteke.
Turned him back to 2015, has it?
Yeah.
Moving on from that dreadful performance from West Brom, Sheffield United lose 2-1 to Leicester in the dying embers of that game as well. They probably shouldn't have been at 1-1 because like Ayoze Perez was having a decent game up top and probably could have scored 2 or 3 in the first half. But what a mistake at the end! Like, just clear it. Yeah. Why are you trying to play it back?
It was John Fleck on it that sort of trod on the ball and gave it away, I think.
Yeah.
This one I didn't get to see all of. I've only seen the brief highlights of this one because I was working. But if you're in Sheffield United's position, you've really struggled. You haven't been able. They've still only got 1 point. You know, 1 point. You've barely been able to get anything done all season. To make a mistake like that in the last minute and gift it's really, even though I still rate Chris Wilder and think he's done a good job there, but that's one of those signs where I think, oh, you really are in the shit here. Like,
and to be honest, the way he spoke after the game was very much, we need to cut the silly mistakes out and we need to do it now. It was very interesting because I think the obvious thing that kind of went through a few people's mind as well as when Vardy went through is why not just hack him down? But I genuinely, I don't think Sheffield United. But I don't think Sheffield United can afford to lose another centre back for 3 games.
Well, it was John Egan that was next to him, and John Egan is not long since back from a ban for a last man foul.
Like I don't think that team in that shape can afford that lengthy miss again.
I'm surprised Jamie Vardy didn't get sent off for his tackle. Did you see that?
Oh, vicious tackle on the corner flag.
As his celebration. Leg breaker.
I didn't see it, but I'm assuming he got a yellow card for that.
There's a replay at ref walking over and giving him a yellow card, and he just looks at the touchline and just pisses himself because he looks back. He's like, yeah.
He's Wednesday, isn't he? Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, big Chef Wednesday fan coming to Sheffield United, and I mean, Empire putting misery on them because it doesn't look like they're going to get themselves out of this relegation.
And now he's smashing up the place as well.
Because of the way Jamie Vardy plays, I've got this weird feeling that Jamie Vardy's still going to be a Premier League footballer when he's 40. Just coming off the bench for 15 minutes at the end and just
the new Teddy Sheringham
season.
Yeah, but at 40 years old, you can't be seeing him on sideline necking a Red Bull before he gets on.
I can definitely see that.
It's got him this far.
Then final game. No, not the final game. Second to final game, and the North London derby. Spurs 2, Arsenal 0. Arsenal. You know what they actually, before we even got into the actual game, the fact that they turned around and went, oh yeah, David Luiz hasn't recovered from that head injury. What, that head injury that he played 30 minutes with?
The one that Troy Deeney went on and went, oh yeah, that's his decision whether he's fit enough to play or not. That one that Arsenal's medical staff thought, yeah, he's fine, put him back on, not a problem.
You see, this is not that one thing. Now, don't get me wrong. How they haven't just approved the concussion sub, like as soon as someone suggested that idea, they should have gone, yeah, that's a great idea, and that had been the end of it. But this one isn't a failure of concussion protocol. This is a failure of medical staff. Like, anyone who saw that knows he shouldn't have been playing on, and also really hope Raul Jimenez recovers.
Yeah, how do you prove it? How do you not just see how he was and like, okay, we got to get him off. We got to check him now. They're just like, no, you're good. Keep going.
Because Arsenal's medical staff are also involved. I can't remember which team it is, but they're involved in rugby union as well, which has a much better concussion protocol than the Premier League does.
Yeah.
And yet they're the same people who went, go on, David, and if that long ball comes in, you head it back forward, lad.
But Spurs showing that they've got probably the best striking duo in the league with Heung-min Son and Harry Kane.
Because you specified duo, absolutely no one can argue with that.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Well,
I've seen a lot.
Go on.
I've seen a lot of people complaining, saying that Leno should have got to that first shot. No, it's just a great fucking finish.
This was one of them games. Like, if you read Mourinho team beats Arsenal 2-0, that's exactly the game you would have visualised.
I think that's just missing the word lol at the end of it. Like, the stat came up. I think it's Mike Newell. The duos with the most assists is Mike Newell setting up 9 goals for Alan Shearer in a single season, and that's over a course of a full season with 9. Son is one assist behind that for Harry Kane, and it's December.
Yeah, and Harry Kane set up about 6 for Son.
Like, they're going to smash that record.
I believe the record both ways combined is Callum Wilson and Ryan Fraser at Bournemouth a couple of years ago.
I think it's 20. I think I read about it. I think the record is 20, and then Son and Kane are at 15 or 16 right now.
Yeah, they're going to smash that record to bits. If they can stay fit, because that's always the one reason why, for instance, I'd never back Harry Kane to be top Premier League goal scorer, because you can't trust him to stay fit. Yeah. But if they both stay fit all season, they will destroy that record.
And what's crazy about this game was they weren't even they were just playing a counter game yesterday. This was all like Arsenal attacking Tottenham. I think that they counted that Arsenal had over 30 crosses on goal, and then how many goals did they have? 0.
They were doing the crosses that You see it with a lot of teams that are dominant but not actually hurting them. They were just chucking. It wasn't good crosses. They were just chucking the ball in the box. Like it was sort of desperation crosses. Like, you see a lot of heavy possession teams do it against a low block when they're playing badly, and that's what Arsenal were like.
And then all of their shots were outside the 18. Yeah. I felt like they were taking too long shots. So when you look at just the box score or anything, you'd be like, how did they not win? But then when you actually watch it, you're like, because they're not getting quality shots on net. And all the crosses, just like you said, they're a lot of desperation ones. And then from that, Tottenham would just counter that, get on the counterattack, and then they had the two nice finishes.
I don't know how Mikel Arteta looks at his front three and goes, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Saka, yeah, we need to be crossing this ball in, not playing it in behind.
That absolutely speaks to the quality that Mourinho has got this Spurs team trained with this low block.
Yeah.
Because we saw it against Chelsea, and yes, that was a miserable game to watch, but that is how well drilled that Spurs team. It's like watching George Graham's Leeds, but better.
Yeah, but with something up front.
Yeah, like it's not pretty. Like that second half for Spurs was not an entertaining game to watch, but it was prime. Again, I mentioned it the last couple of weeks. It's prime Mourinho. Get in front and then just set yourself up and protect the lead. Why go for 3 or 4 when you don't have to?
I just checked. For all of those shots and all of that possession and everything that Arsenal had, their XG was 0.66. Now, Tottenham's was only 0.44. But after they went 2-0 up, they stopped trying to score. So it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I'm not sure when Leeds play Tottenham. But when Leeds play Tottenham, have a bet on Tottenham -1.
Yeah.
Because
this is exactly the sort of game Leeds lose.
They will do exactly the same thing to us, only we've got slightly less quality.
January 2nd, and it's in Tottenham.
Yeah, like they will do the same thing to us. They'll let us have the ball. They'll let us attack like mad. We'll bomb everyone forward, and they'll go Kane and Son versus our centre-backs, and they'll score 3 goals.
Chat, it's less complicated than that. The next time we play them, it's in London, so we're going to lose anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought this might have been a letdown game, considering we just played Liverpool and then we played Chelsea last week, and this was the last of that before we go on a lighter schedule for the rest of the year. I thought we would have maybe lost this game, but it was good that we didn't. And then I've noticed that I feel like with the Europa games, Mourinho has been sitting all the stars, so they're ready for these games.
Yeah, that's one good thing in the Europa League. If you've got a decent squad, all the Premier League teams that are in it should be strong enough to get through with their, not the reserves, but like the subs bench and a couple of others should be enough to get you through.
Yeah, you're saying this about Spurs, but Spurs' subs for the Europa League is Gareth Bale, Lucas Moura, and that Vinicius. It's still a Premier League striking quality team.
And Moura didn't even play on Thursday. Yeah, he didn't even play.
Final game of the Sunday. Final game to review. Liverpool 4, Wolves 0. Klopp has got the best out of this Liverpool side, even with the injuries that they've got. But I also think Wolves really didn't help themselves defensively in this game.
No, they weren't particularly great here, Wolves. They'd have probably lost anyway, but they didn't play to their ability.
The times he was called upon, I was quite impressed with. Is it Kelleher that was in goal?
Yeah.
He's looked quite good. See, was it Ajax they played midweek as well? I thought he looked all right in that.
He made some good saves.
Just a question for free. I don't know if any of you have heard. Do any of you have any idea how you pronounce his first name?
No.
Caoimhin.
Chowkin.
John.
It's dangerously close to chow mein. Like I have no idea on Irish pronunciation.
It'll be one of those.
It's probably like Cayman or something like that, or Cowman.
Do you remember that?
No idea.
you remember that OSW review episode? L''EA.
Ladasha.
Ladasha. And then they notice that's not even a dash.
Yeah, I felt bad for Conor Cody here. I know he's a scout and he's a Liverpool fan, I think, from birth. And I think he was even a Liverpool youth player.
Yeah, came through their academy back when he was a centre mid.
But that first ball that comes up into air and he tries to just chest it into the path of Willy Boly and just completely doesn't get the connection on it. It's too good of a touch for what he's actually trying.
Just chest it through for Zaha. It was almost like the ball was in the air. It's like, I'm getting a through ball for Liverpool. I'm getting a through ball for Liverpool. It was like Homer. I'm catching a pass from Dan Marino. He just, every defender is going to make the odd bad mistake, and that was one. He's still a really good player, and if England keep playing a back three, there's a very decent chance that he'll start when we get round to the Euros, because he is very suited to playing in a back three.
To be honest, if he's a back two, I'd still have him. I think he is probably England's second best centre back.
If I'm playing with two centre backs, I don't want one of them to basically be a central midfielder.
He's not going to get in that team, mate. He's not a right back.
Yeah, true.
See, I thought you were going to say two centre backs for England. Calvin Phillips and Conor Cody.
No, don't waste Calvin. Put him at centre back.
Yeah,
he's taking Declan Rice's place.
Yeah, Eric Dyer. Just pick all the centre mids that can play at the back.
Yeah, but 4-0 Liverpool, easy as you like for them in this game, and maybe just unfortunate for Wolves to play them coming off the back of losing midweek. They won midweek against Ajax. It was last week. They lost midweek against Atlanta. Game that is on tonight.
Just miles better. Just miles better.
Game that's on tonight and kicks off in about 12 minutes. Brighton versus Southampton. It's the reason why we're doing it tonight, because I'm not going up against Liverpool and Wolves, but Brighton and Southampton, yes. But that'll do us for the game roundup. I was going to do hot or cold, but I think maybe with the amount of time that we've got left, we
can combine them, and I will pick it as cold.
We might as well talk about the next topic, and it's going to be a bit of a controversial topic. Well, I say controversial for one set of fans.
No, it's not
controversial for one set of fans. It is. Yeah. Millwall fans during their game Saturday, I believe it was, that they played. The players went to take the customary knee before the game kicks off for supporting Black Lives Matter movement. And the fans decide to boo.
I have to say straight away, here's the thing. It's not for Black Lives Matter. They stopped that at like the end of July because there are things about the Black Lives Matter campaign that are political. The actual official group defunding the police, stuff like that, which are political opinions. So as much as it doesn't matter whether I agree with them or not, I can understand why it is now no room for racism.
Yeah.
So it's not even the controversy of the Black Lives Matter campaign. It's even less controversial than that. And the Millwall players, I'm going to get ranty here, sorry. The Millwall players, the first team squad released a statement on the Friday because they know what Millwall fans are like, and they sort of preempted it, and they put a thing out saying, we are going to take the knee. This is not supporting any political campaign. It is not we're not doing anything to do with that. It is simply saying we are against discrimination. Well, if a load of players put out a statement like that saying this is all it is, and then you boo them doing it, if you boo an anti-discrimination campaign, then guess what you're pro? You're pro-discrimination. There's a reason why they got fined last year for chanting racist shit. It's been... and Leeds I would not be at all shocked if the next time there's fans in Ellen Road, if some did it. I would not be shocked. But the difference is at Millwall that it was basically fucking all of them. That's where the difference is with Millwall. It's just constant. And how anyone can, like, I can get at thinking you shouldn't have the kneeling before football. It's just it's become a token gesture at this point that the FA can use instead of actually doing real change. I kind of agree with Les Ferdinand on that, to be honest, because QPR stopped taking the knee ages ago because they thought that the campaign was being used to sort of instead of real change, and I can understand that. Incidentally, QPR are playing Millwall next, and QPR have said, no, we are taking the knee for this one, just to prove the point. But what Millwall fans wasn't, throwing out things like Marxism when they don't know what the fuck it even means. They booed because a lot of them, they just didn't want to see any, this is basically saying that black people are equal to white people. And a lot of Millwall fans don't fucking like that because they don't think it's true. And I'm sorry, it's just fucking ridiculous. And I get ranty and annoyed about shit like this, but it really fucking winds me up.
No, you're totally right there. The big problem is, I can understand in the initial instance, as you said, when this was part linked with the Black Lives Matter movement. But, this has been going on since May now.
Yeah.
If you are saying that this is Marxist, then you are willfully choosing to be ignorant to this matter now. I put out a thing yesterday on Twitter about it, and one of the responses I got was a guy saying, "Oh, well, why don't they take the double knee? And this is what it's representing." I'm like, no, there are. Can you point me in the direction of a footballer, a club owner, director, a coach, a manager, anyone whose stance about this is we are pushing for a communist regime? No, you can't. Because and I'm going to say this clearly, no one fucking is. All right? And now, Colchester, their owners put out their statement today about saying, listen, if you are going to boo this is what taking the knee means to us and our players. If you disagree with that, don't come. We don't want you here. And the first response I saw to that was, oh, well, what about freedom of speech? And like, listen, if you're thinking freedom of speech is I'm going to boo fucking equality, fuck the fuck off.
No, I'll give them freedom of speech. I don't think it should be a crime to be. If they think that being racist is okay, I don't think that's a crime. I think I'm allowed to call them a twat.
Yeah.
But it's just the bullshit arguments that you get, and you've seen so much justification of it, and nearly all of it was justifying something other than what they did. Like when Middlesbrough did the same thing, actually. When Middlesbrough didn't take the knee, and they were very sensible and had Britta Sombalonga be the person who explained it, because if you're going to not take the knee, and everyone in the club is agreed, it's probably an idea to have the black guy explain it.
Yeah, probably not going to mean as much coming from Johnny Howson.
No. So, and he said the same thing. No, we want to get behind something that causes real change. Which, as I say, I actually agree with. I'd be fine with them binning off the knee at this point. I don't think it's actually helping anything. And I don't think it's raising any awareness of anything that people don't know. I think they need a more robust, real campaign to do something about it. But, I don't think that this is a great idea, so I'm going to fucking boo it. It's such a stupid thing to do. Yeah. Even if there was, let me take Millwall Supporters Club's statement at face value. Now, they said, we fervently believe that there was no racist intention behind it. Now, I think that's complete bullshit. But if I just take them at the word for a second, okay, so what were they trying to accomplish by booing? That they don't like that some people defaced a Churchill statue with the word racist. They didn't fucking do it. How about, we don't like the creep of Marxism there is no, it hasn't happened. The country right now has a fucking Tory government with a massive majority. And Nigel Farage is one of the most powerful political voices. This is not a country lurching to the left. No. It just isn't.
Yeah, and like you say now, the big thing is whether we should still be taking the knee or not is fully up for debate, and I'm willing to have discussions with people about it. I would love to have an actual conversation with someone on Twitter about it, but that's unfortunately not what a lot of those people are about, who also coincidentally turn out to be older white men who don't think there's anything wrong with the country, but that's probably neither here nor there.
I believe the term is a first name bunch of numbers.
Yeah. Or the guy who decided to have a go at me today, the anti-PC guy.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Oh, it's political correctness. It's not. It's got nothing to do with political correctness. It's not being politically correct to think that all people should be treated equally. That's not PC. It's just not being a cunt.
If you look at England for the last couple of years, we had to play Croatia a couple of years back behind closed doors because of the behaviour of Croatia's fans. When we played Bulgaria last year, I think Bulgaria had to have games played behind closed doors afterwards because of the behaviour of their fans, and both teams nearly walked off from that game.
Yeah.
And yet, when it happens here, there is nothing even close to that sort of outcry about it. It happened at Stamford Bridge a couple of years ago, and it was, that fan has been banned, which is fine. But there are hundreds, if not thousands, of other fans out there who are going to act the same way. And unfortunately, I think the only way you deal with stuff like that is, no, I know it's only 5% of your fan base, but because of their behaviour, you are all going to have to suffer now. Because if you don't make teams play behind closed doors, Millwall have got a fans charter they've got to sign up to, that in no way makes them have to behave in a certain way. It's just saying, we'll think about it. Yeah. But it doesn't mean anything.
And it's like, I can hear it coming already, because it will. Like, there was a lot of Leeds fans going on about this. And I mean, look, I'm not going to pretend I already didn't like Millwall. They're the only set of fans that I've ever met where, like, I've met fans of so many clubs, and for the most part, every single one of them has been all right. Millwall's the only one that's different. I've met maybe 20 Millwall fans, and all but one of them were arseholes. So I don't like Millwall. But, like, it's not like Leeds have the best. We're not in the best position for this. I'm fully aware. We're still paying Kiko Casilla. And, like, it's fucking ridiculous. It's another example of something real and nothing really getting done about it. The evidence for that was pretty conclusive that he said that he's called Jonathan Lecco the N-word.
And the Leeds have tried to make it as difficult as they can for the investigation.
Yeah, that like a load of the staff and stuff at Leeds, wouldn't give statements or hid the truth and stuff like that. Admittedly, it wasn't like the first team coaches and stuff. It was people that are less front facing than that, by the sounds of it. But like when something real happens, so little gets done about it. So really, all this kneeling stuff, as much as it pissed me off, it does just show that when something that isn't as serious as the real things happens, it gets more coverage than a lot of the real things. This is why I think it needs a real root and branch right from the start. Right, here we are. We're going to really fucking tackle this now. We're going to bring in some really harsh penalties if people do stuff, and maybe then they'll be able to do something. It doesn't really matter whether there's kneeling before the game. What matters is that there's people trying to actually do something about racism. But if people do kneel, it isn't hurting anything. And if you boo it, there's something wrong with you.
Can I just say as well, one of the arguments I'd say is, where's everything the Premier League are doing for the LGBT community? Why don't we do a dance before that? I was like, it is literally the weekend of the Rainbow Laces campaign, you dick.
Yeah, it's literally happening right now.
It's like, strangely, they do try and be all-inclusive.
Anyway, sorry, I got a bit ranty then, but it was always going to happen. So, yeah, my cold is Millwall. That says something. They managed to make me want Derby to win a football game.
Wayne Rooney's derby.
Wayne Rooney's derby. They managed to make me want Wayne Rooney's derby to win.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's a certain fan base, and it has to be that thing now of if one fan is doing something as ridiculous as that, the club has to suffer until the rest of the fans learn not to do that.
I wouldn't say one, but if there's a group, even if it's quite a small group, because one, you're gonna get the odd isolated one at every ground in the country. One sits back open and stuff. You are gonna get one. What matters is we need to get to a stage where when that one does something, all the people around them are calling them out.
Yeah.
That's the difference, because that's the difference now at Elland Road compared to 20 years ago. 20 years ago, if you heard someone shout, "You fucking whatever," people might like tut and stuff, but they wouldn't really say out. Now, and I've seen it with my own eyes, when it happens, you tend to get a load of people fucking shouting at them and calling them a dick and jumping on it, and stewards going who said that, people will now point them out and go, it was them, which didn't happen 15 years ago. So it is better than it was, but there's still a hell of a long way to go.
We should probably finish on hot and cold to end on a slightly cheerier note.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick we had two other topics to go over. We'll just go off the one instead of focusing on Liverpool, because we seem to do that last week. We'll focus on Spurs. And Mourinho Spurs, who I think at the moment are sitting top of the table after that win against Arsenal. Are they genuine title contenders for this season?
I honestly think so. You look at the teams they've held. They've held off these last couple of games. It's not as if they've been doing it against just West Brom or Fulham. They've been doing it against quality teams. I'll be interested to see if they can do it against Liverpool's front three. But when you've got a lethal duo at the moment in Son and Kane. You've got some great supporting players at the moment. When you're able to bring someone like Lo Celso off the bench, and the only worry is that if they lose Kane or Son, does that derail the whole thing?
I definitely agree that they are contenders. I don't think they'll win it, but I do think they are contenders. I think if they had, and the centre backs aren't bad, but I don't think the centre backs are quite. Mind you, though, Leicester won it with Wes Morgan and Rob Hoof, so. But I think they'll be right up there. I think they're in the fight. I don't think they'll win it, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did.
I think I can, not being biased or anything, but if you looked at how they finished last season, they had lost half the guys due to injury. Loris was out for a couple of months. Kane was out for 3. Son was out for a month and a half. Then he had to finish up his military initiative, so he didn't have to worry about that. And I think they lost Dele Alli before he fell out of favor with Mourinho. And then they got hot late. And then they started this season hot. They've only given up exceeded 9 goals this season, and then they're up in the top 3 in goals scored. So you're scoring goals, and then you're keeping teams from scoring at the same time. So that's usually a good recipe for winning the league. I need to see them. They're doing well against the great teams. I just need to see them now playing the lesser teams instead of playing down to them, that they just beat them with ease as they should. And then I'll be more comfortable if they do that the next couple of matches that they have.
One player that they signed during the transfer window, and I were a bit like, why have they signed him? War Højbjerg from Southampton, and he's been revolutionary for them in midfield. He's looked great, and Mourinho having that little bit of, I think he said it in his interview after the Arsenal game, where he said normally for the last 15 minutes, we take Højbjerg off and we'd bring Ndombele on and let Ndombele just run round in the middle and just cut out all the passes coming through towards the defence. They've got that system. He's got his system down now. You didn't see that last season. He's got his players. He knows what they're good at, and he knows, right, Ndombele is going to either be a good 60-minute starting player or he's going to be the perfect 15-minute super sub to hold on to a lead. Like, Mourinho's way, although when he was at Chelsea, he had all the money to throw at teams and throw at players and get what he wanted. Now he's at Spurs, he's building a squad. Mourinho takes a year, maybe a year and a half to build a team and get used to the players that he's got and know what kind of formation and what tactics he wants to run. And it's something that Man United didn't want to wait for. Chelsea got him back. He won the league. Then he had to start rebuilding and they didn't want to wait for him to rebuild. So they sacked him and brought someone else in. Spurs have got that patience and they'll wait for Mourinho to build this side to the point where they are going to be first, second in April, pushing towards winning the title.
And
I must admit, when Spurs hired Mourinho, I really didn't think it was a good fit. But he's doing a really good job there at the minute. As always with Mourinho, if they have a really good season this season and then one more, the season after that it'll probably all fall to bits. But if he wins Spurs a league, if it all falls apart next season, if they win the league this season and then finish 8th the season after, they still won the league. You know, they'd probably
that was it. I mean, even if you're playing, if you've got to endure those sort of turgid second halves that they've been putting up these last few weeks, for how long it's been since Spurs ever won the league, you take it. You know, at this point, if you're Spurs, I'm sure as a Spurs fan, you'd probably kill to have to win the FA Cup or something. You know, last I remember them winning was the League Cup final with Johnny Woodgate scoring for them.
Yeah, I want to say 2008, but I've no idea.
Yeah,
it was under Harry Redknapp had only been there a month or two, hadn't he? I think when they did it. You know, so at this point, if you're a Spurs fan, because Spurs were always, you know, for even me growing up, they were always a quote unquote a cup team, whatever that meant.
Yeah.
Now, in all that time, they only ever won the League Cup under George Graham in 1999 or 2000. I can't remember. That was about it. But yeah, you know, so it'd be great for them if they can put up a full season of competing with Liverpool. And you know, I do reckon the three that'll be competing will be them, Liverpool, and Chelsea. You know, Man City will probably be there or thereabouts, but they're not as reliable.
I still think Man City will claw the way back up. I just think they've got too much quality not to, even if they have a bad season, they'll still beat most of the teams at first. So.
And then what was it? 2 years ago was when they finished second in the Champions League, basically tying the way to the finals. Literally every leg that they had, they would come back and tie it, and then because they had more goals.
Yeah,
I mean, that Ajax away game was fantastic to watch.
That's a good thing. That for Lucas Moura, he can do nothing now for the rest of his career at Spurs. It doesn't matter because of that game.
I won't lie. I turned it off for 5 minutes, and then my friend was like, "You got to turn it back on." I was like, "I just turned it off 5 minutes ago." And I was like, "They're losing 1-0 in this, and they're down like 4-0 in the aggregate." And it's like they just got 2 goals. I'm like, shit. Turn it on, and then they got that goal in the 94th minute, and then I flipped out. I was like, holy shit.
As much as a team with Mourinho probably shouldn't be seen as an underdog since Porto won the Champions League, I still think this year is the season that an underdog is going to win the league, and I'm still going to stick. Southampton are probably going to win the league. James Ward-Prowse will score like 4 or 5 more free kicks.
Sorry, I'm just waiting because Brighton are swinging a free kick in here, and I'm really waiting for them to go 1-0 up just to really hammer that point home.
It would have been. I was looking at the exact same thing, going, "Go on, Brighton, score right now."
Go on, Ben White, dive in header, back post.
To be honest, they had 3 headers. Should have done better.
But I think that'll do us for this episode of Stand Your Ground. So before we go, I'm going to run a quick advert that show you what goes on live here at The Buzz during the week and all the live podcasts that you can check out.
War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them I'm ready, any opponent. The crown heavy and every minute is chosen. A path only fit for kings, and you don't know what this court means. What did you enlist for? If it isn't getting more rings, then you gon' have to switch your team. Trust me, it gets more mean. I'm a nightmare going up against your dreams. First step is explosive like a bomb hit. Bet if I let it fly, I cannot miss. And you ain't got a chance at the top 10 when you getting clamped all night by your locksmith. On the block throwing lobs to my top bigs. I'm a chef, no look, with the top dish. Tie game, through the pressure as the clock ticks. Crossover, step back, hit a shot, swish. Tell them that's what we ready for.
Damn, son. That track is fire.
There you go, Casey. There you go.
Yeah, so if you want to check out everything from The Buzz, we are on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at WTB.com. We're also under The Buzz on YouTube, where all these videos will be going live up onto to YouTube as well after they've finished live streaming. As we said at the start, you can go over to manscaped.com and use code SYG2020, get 20% off and free delivery. If you want to check out more of Jack and Casey talking about football, you can head on over to the Mighty Whites podcast, Mighty Whites Pod on Twitter.
Unfortunate name, innit, when I've just gone on a rant about how racist you are. But yeah, on Twitter, at Mighty Whites Pod.
Yeah, maybe I should have led that with MWP. But yeah, that'll do us for this episode of Stand Your Ground. In fact, actually, we do have a bit of news. Dan, you are interviewing tomorrow a member from MTV's The Challenger.
Yes, I'll be, me and Drew from Gamer and Drive will be interviewing Wes Bergman from The Challenge. He is a legend. He's been on there for over 10 seasons. And that'll be tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, so make sure that you're over here on WTB.com to catch that tomorrow night for them, probably, early morning for any UK fans. Next week, we'll be going back to the original Sunday time slot. We'll be going back to 7 p.m. on the Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern. So make sure that you check out Stand Your Ground live on Sunday. I'm going to say next week, but it's still this week.
Yep.
But that'll do us. So we've been joined by Casey and Jack of the Mighty Whites podcast.
In a bit.
As always, it's a pleasure.
Been joined by D-Bake.
Pleasure.
I've been Alex, and we'll see you next time.